Welcome back, and Solana. That's what today's video is about right here on the channel. And you may be saying, but Cryptoviser, what in the Solana is going on here? You're going to be talking about Solana in a whole video. Well, the answer to that is yes. Why? Well, despite all the indicators that the markets were showing, Solana is still above $100. And now we are seeing the likes of Galaxy Digital, which is Mike Novogratz' company, swapping $100 million in Ethereum for Solana. And again, Mike Novogratz is the guy who got the tattoo of Terra Luna dog on his arm last cycle. So is this an indicator that Solana is headed much higher or headed much lower? Because it's not just this. We're also hearing Janover, which was a publicly traded company that was recently purchased and rebranded as DeFi Development Corporation, has now raised their holdings to $48 million by buying Solana. This is the Cryptoviser podcast. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Today's video is all about Solana, so do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give the video a free thumbs up, and we're going to be exploring, is Solana investable? Going 100% into Solana and selling everything else. And we're going to be starting right here with Solana buying for the balance sheet gains momentum as Janover, this publicly traded company that was recently purchased by some former developers of Solana. They purchased it, I think it was around like $20 million. That was the valuation of the stock. And now you can see that the valuation has gone up fairly substantially. Oh no, it was under $10 million because the price just earlier in April was at $4 and now we're at $52 with peaking out at $74. So that went from $4 to almost $80. You can see the year range, $80. So from $4 to $80, that's a 20x in literally less than a month. This should be, number one, an indicator that we are in the bull market, but number two, an indicator of huge risk. Because whenever we see major moves like this in the markets, typically we're also seeing it in other areas as well. But is Janover or DeFi Development Corporation really worth that much? Well, let's understand a little bit more about what the firm is doing. So Janover, now called DeFi Development Corp, added $9.9 million in Solana to their treasury, raising the total holdings to 317,000 Solana coins worth $48 million. The company made its purchase through BitGo's over-the-counter desk, acquiring locked Solana at prices below the market. So locked Solana coins are potential investor coins or coins that are locked in staking or whatever. It's very interesting the way that we're seeing these corporate treasuries getting rolled out. They're buying at below market prices. They're buying, over the counter, which is not necessarily in the market, right? Not in the necessarily order books. MicroStrategy is doing the same thing. Jack Mallers' new company is going to be doing the same thing. Marathon Digital is doing the same thing. And now we're seeing it happening in Solana. And is this an indicator that Wall Street is now where Main Street is with Solana? Well, not really, because remember, Solana was built by and for the billionaires. That's been my thesis since we started covering Solana when it launched in 2020. We saw the launch. It was launched by FTX. And many of these millionaires and billionaires, they got in at 25 cents or maybe even below that price. That was pre-ICO prices. And now the price is $150. They've made quite the return just already. This firm, Janover, pivoted from real estate data to focus on the Solana ecosystem, now offering investors direct exposure to Solana through their balance sheet, taking a page from Michael Saylor's strategy. Now, a lot of people are bullish about this. And yes, this may be bullish for Solana in the shorter term. But I remind my viewers, back in 2020, we saw a lot of the same thing. We saw a lot of rebranding to blockchain. Rebranding, Facebook changed their whole company to Meta. And we still don't have a metaverse. Where's the metaverse that we were promised? Literally, Facebook spent billions and billions of dollars. I think 2021, 2022, they spent over $10 billion each year. I could be wrong on these numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's over $10 billion per year on metaverse development. And we have nothing to show for it. There's no metaverse. And so all of that hype around metaverse, all of that hype around everybody's going to be working in the metaverse, living in the metaverse, it was all bullshit. None of that is actually happening. None of it. And so we have to keep that in mind. There was also a company called Long Island Iced Tea Company or something like that. And they rebranded to Long Island Blockchain Company. They were still an iced tea company. They had nothing to do with blockchain. They didn't change their business, but the price of their stock significantly rose just from the rebranding. So, very similar kind of place we're at in the cycle, in my view. And that place in the cycle is towards the end, right? I believe right now, when I'm recording this, we're in the 12 to 18 month period after the Bitcoin halving occurred in 2024. Historically, in Bitcoin and crypto markets, 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving is when we see the most volatile movements in the market to the upside and to the downside. And so we may already be in this kind of this cycle category right now, and seeing that they're buying so much Solana, effectively still at the top of the market. This could be one of the reasons that we're seeing the price continuing to maintain above this $100 level and moving higher. But there's also a lot of other things going on besides DeFi Development Corporation. We're also hearing Galaxy Digital is getting the nod from the SEC for a US listing and is eyeing the NASDAQ debut in May. Now, keep in mind, Galaxy Digital, this is Mike Novogratz's company. I still have respect for him as a business entrepreneur and leader. I think that he made bad investment choices in the last cycle, but that could have been anybody. So I don't necessarily, I don't know that I would get a tattoo if I liked a crypto or a stock that much, but to each their own. But again, look at what it says here. The shares are going to be listed on the NASDAQ after May 9th shareholder vote. What's also happening in May? We're going to be hearing from the Federal Reserve. What's also happening in May? Ethereum is getting its Pectra upgrade, which is going to significantly enhance its layer 2 functionalities and also transaction bandwidth. So we have a lot happening in May, and as I predicted for a few months now, it seems like May is going to be this time when everything is going to be coming to a head. And the market, I think, is pricing that in already. We're starting to see moves to the upside as we approach the May 7th Federal Reserve meeting. This could be a big indicator of where the market is going. Even if they don't make any changes at that meeting, giving us the forward guidance of what they are going to do in future meetings could send markets much, much, much higher. And so Galaxy Digital, understanding that they are a crypto company, and now they're putting crypto on their balance sheet, this could also indicate where things are going. And now we're hearing that Galaxy Digital, they're not only in the crypto space, but they are in crypto. And they swapped $100 million of Ethereum for Solana. Now, as many of you guys know, I'm more of an Ethereum fan than a Solana fan. I've traded Ethereum. I've never held Solana. I've always felt that it was built by and for the billionaires. I was very skeptical, especially after FTX's collapse, that we would see actual development and deployment of technologies on the chain. Now, while we have seen a lot of technologies, deployment, and excitement around Solana, we haven't seen the adoption curve pick up, at least not just yet. And a lot of it was based on speculation. As I explained at the beginning of 2025, the fact that Solana this cycle so far has had no new technologies deployed, no new adoption announcements for backend integration or usage of the blockchain or any of the functionality of Solana, no major product launches, except for meme coins. I predicted this will be the downfall for Solana this cycle. But to now see the likes of Galaxy Digital putting their money into Solana, companies like DeFi Development Corp, formerly Janover, being bought by Solana developers and creating the thesis that strategy and MicroStrategy are using to acquire Bitcoin, and they're going to be doing the same thing with Solana, whether it's through debt or through just acquisitions. It's a very risky thesis and strategy for Solana when there's nothing deployed. There's no new technologies. There's no integrations. Now, maybe they have this, they're working on this on the back end, and this is all kind of investing and getting the money in before these announcements occur. But so far this cycle, all we have is meme coins. And personally, I feel that it's very risky to put my money in a crypto ecosystem that has only been able to deploy meme coins at this point, because effectively it's a meme coin chain, right? There's no real difference between Solana and Dogecoin if Solana doesn't have the usage and the adoption needed to separate it from just being a meme coin or a meme coin platform, which is what Solana has been so far this cycle. And again, this is my opinion. I know there's a lot of people out there saying Cryptoviser, there's a lot of other stuff that's on Solana. It's like, what? Like, again, what have they launched besides meme coins and every celebrity launching their meme coin on Solana and wrecking everybody? We've seen massive value extraction out of Solana and they just keep pumping money in. But where is this money going? Like, what is being developed? Anyway, I mean, I just feel like, and it's not just Solana, it's many of these major crypto projects. Guys, according to CoinMarketCap, there are 14 million different cryptos. Even if you say 1,000 of these cryptos are real projects with real technology, at least to some level, that's 1,000 cryptos that I could choose from. Why am I going to choose a crypto that has only deployed meme coins, or that is saying, oh, we're about to launch a bridge to another blockchain? It's like, wait, what? It's 2025. You don't have a bridge to another blockchain. And by the way, the maximalists in these other communities, they get Cryptoviser, you're so bitter. It's like, no, I'm looking at this and analyzing this as an investor, not as a maximalist like you are, right? I mean, if I was a maximalist, there's no reason to even have this channel or to invest. There is no thesis behind maximalism. Just hold a coin forever, never sell it, never touch any other coin, don't trade, just hold. That's completely and utterly ridiculous. But there's a lot of people who are like, no, XRP is going to the moon. It's like, it already went to the moon and now it's another coin's turn. Same thing with Solana, right? So yeah, maybe it does sound a little bit bitter, but come on, guys. Ethereum is the most widely used blockchain on the planet outside of Bitcoin, right? It has the most smart contracts, the most DeFi bridges, the most total value locked, the most on-chain users, the most developers, the most money behind it besides Bitcoin. And there's people who are like literally dumping their Ethereum at multi-year lows to buy Solana at all-time record highs. I thought we're supposed to buy the low, sell the high, not buy the high and never sell. That doesn't make any sense. But it's also important that you separate what Wall Street is doing from what you're doing, because Wall Street doesn't have a need to sell because they can do a lot of other things. They can access a lot of debt that individuals can't necessarily access. And so them investing and how they invest should be very different than how a regular everyday person invests. But let's understand a little bit more about this. Galaxy Digital swapped $105 million worth of Ethereum for $100 million in Solana, according to on-chain data. Wu Blockchain said that Galaxy swapped this considerable amount of ETH. Over the last few weeks, Galaxy transferred 65,000 Ethereum to Binance and withdrew 752,000 Solana. Galaxy made the move because ETH continues to be in structural decline, according to recent notes from Standard Chartered, which slashed their year-end price target for Ethereum. Data for Arkham Dashboard shows that the firm holds about $88 million in Ethereum versus $23 million in Solana. I mean, I guess that's changed now, but yeah, I mean, they probably did the swap before they went onto the NASDAQ. And again, this is just my opinion, but they may have done the swap before they are listed on the NASDAQ. That way there's no regulatory issues, or they don't have to, like, I don't know why they did it. And there's no explanation on why they actually did that. But let's take a look at Galaxy Digital. Their stock is currently on OTC markets. I think they're listed in another country, maybe. I don't think that they're just on the OTC markets, but maybe they are. I don't know. But either way, yeah, it's Canadian because it's in CAD. So if we go CAD to USD and we take, they're at 6.4 billion Canadian. So 6.4 billion would be 4.6 billion US dollars, approximately market cap. 4.6 Yeah, 4.6 billion. That's a pretty high market cap already. I mean, I would have to look, let's see. Their annual profit last year was about 80 million, the year before that 450 million, the year before that negative 500 million. So yeah, them being listed on the open market is going to be, I think, pretty good. But guys, they just made a huge announcement as well. And this doesn't have to do with Solana, but I think that it's important for you guys to see. Galaxy Digital announces a commitment with CoreWeave to host additional AI and HPC infrastructure at their Helios data center campus. And so CoreWeave has exercised its first option to access additional critical IT load for CoreWeave's AI and HPC operations at Galaxy's Helio data center campus in West Texas. Under the Phase 2 operation agreement, Galaxy has agreed to deliver approximately 260 megawatts of incremental critical IT load to host CoreWeave's AI and HPC operations at Helios. This incremental capacity would be structured under similar economic terms as Phase 1 agreement and would increase CoreWeave's total contracted capacity for AI and HPC at the Helios data center to approximately 393 megawatts of critical IT load. Now, again, this megawatts is what we look at in not only AI and HPC, but also in Bitcoin mining. Because remember, a lot of the Bitcoin mining companies are also looking at AI and HPC capabilities so that they can diversify their business operations. And Galaxy may do the same thing here. Maybe they're going to start hosting Solana nodes. Maybe they're already hosting Solana nodes. Once they're listed on the NASDAQ, we'll start to do a little bit more deep dives into some of their SEC filings to see, is this an investable company at $4.6 billion? But again, they're investing in Solana. And so if the thesis about Solana that the cycle is potentially already over for Solana, right? Because Solana has outperformed pretty much every other major crypto this entire cycle, going from $8 to $260, and now it's down about 50% from the all-time record high. But most other cryptos, including Ethereum, have not reached their all-time record high. And so again, as an investor, as a trader, right, I would look at that setup and say, wait, do I invest in Solana or do I invest in Ethereum? Now, there are a lot of people that believe Ethereum is just going to underperform this cycle and not going to reach all-time record highs. That is definitely a possibility. But I'm a little bit more bullish than that, right? Based on all of the integrations, usage, and deployments we're probably going to see now that the US regulatory environment is becoming a little bit more crypto friendly. But again, the data is going to determine this, and people putting their money where their mouth is going to determine this, right? So far, we don't have any publicly traded companies really that are buying Ethereum. We have Ethereum ETFs that are buying Ethereum. We have some companies that may hold some Ethereum, but nobody's buying Ethereum and nobody is following the MicroStrategy thesis or their strategy of acquiring Bitcoin with debt. So now we have Janover that has Solana or DeFi Development Corp. We have Galaxy Digital that has large amounts of Solana. And they're going to probably buy more. Well, who's buying Ethereum? This is a question that I really had to think about when I'm looking at my portfolio, when I'm looking at this market for this channel. Like, what am I presenting to my viewers? Because I don't think that my thesis about Ethereum is incorrect. Now, it could be, but I don't think that it is. And I think that people are getting lost in the cycle, and people are getting lost in the what the cycle has already done, right? Where Solana has already outperformed Ethereum. So everybody believes that this is going to continue and that Solana will continue to outperform Ethereum. But what if that is not the case? What if my original bull thesis on Ethereum and more bearish thesis on Solana is accurate? What if that is? That would mean these companies that are buying Solana on their balance sheet, like Galaxy Digital, like DeFi Development Corp, these companies are in huge risk territory if we enter a bear market, or if Solana continues to take back all the gains that it gave into the market over the last couple of years, especially because Really, the only thing that we've seen come out of the Solana ecosystem has been meme coins. And so if that happens, let's say Solana goes down to $75, what is DeFi Development Corp going to do? Can they stomach that kind of loss? I believe Galaxy Digital can because they have other business lines besides just holding crypto. But so far, DeFi Development Corp is just a holding corporation right now, right? They're not really doing anything else involving Solana from a business perspective to increase the valuation of Solana. That's a problem. We've heard from the new Jack Mallers company that's going to be following the MicroStrategy strategy with buying Bitcoin, effectively that they want to get into all aspects of the Bitcoin business and develop companies that are going to create more businesses, right? So are they going to get involved in Bitcoin mining? Maybe they're going to get involved in Bitcoin payments and stuff like that. That can also increase the value of the company if their underlying assets go down in valuation. This is why MicroStrategy, although most of their business is really just acquiring Bitcoin, they also do have a software business that is cash flowing. So that's a big difference as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I have to reevaluate my portfolio. I think it's good for everybody to reevaluate their portfolio on a regular basis and really understand, is my thesis still accurate today? Do I still believe in my thesis now? Do I need to make adjustments to the thesis? And if so, what am I doing with my portfolio? And that brings us to the question, do I put 100% into Solana and dump Ethereum, dump all the other coins that I have, like Mike Novogratz's Galaxy Digital has done? Personally, no. I still believe in my thesis. I still think that my thesis is going to play out, at least to some degree. Obviously, not every single position, not every single piece of my thesis, but I think the general thesis that we are going to go higher, that coins like Ethereum that have the fundamental value behind it, the fundamental usage, adoption, and all of that will drive the value much higher. We're not seeing it right now, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So with that, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that kind of what we're talking about here makes sense? Do you think that this is risky and we're kind of in this toppish territory that we're seeing rebranding of companies and just becoming holding companies such as DeFi Development Corp, Galaxy Digital swapping their Ethereum for Solana? Do you think that was a smart idea? Do you think that, we're just seeing a rotation from people just kind of repositioning their portfolios? Because maybe there's people who were invested in Ethereum that were like, you know what? Fuck it, Cryptoviser. Solana has performed. It looks like it's going to continue to perform. Ethereum keeps underperforming. Everybody's bearish on it. I'm going with the winner because Solana has already proved itself this cycle, and I believe that it's going to go higher. Ethereum has not proved itself. I can't take a risk. That's maybe what we're seeing as well. But when you start to make those moves based on the emotion of it, that's where usually mistakes are made. And so I don't necessarily change my thesis based on the fundamentals, because what else has Solana given us this cycle besides meme coins versus Ethereum? About to, launch the Pectra upgrade, which is going to significantly increase the functionality of layer 2s, the bandwidth of the network and all of that. How is that not going to be a net positive for Ethereum and the ecosystem surrounding Ethereum? I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you when I see you. Invest responsibly, and as always, crypto on.